to get my back blown out in peace. You think I got time to talk about a divorce that's a year old?
It was supposed to be just another night of celebration at a major Hollywood event. The bed after party. The kind of glamorous gathering that follows an award show where the stars leave behind the red carpet seriousness and let loose in an atmosphere charged with music, laughter, and champagne bubbles rising to the rhythm of DJ sets. But this particular night did not unfold like the carefully curated dream people expected. It twisted into something raw and chaotic, something that would ripple far beyond the dance floor, because in the middle of the lights and the noise, in front of cameras and shocked onlookers, Teyana Taylor's mother was captured in a moment of unfiltered emotion, delivering a fiery and deeply personal rant that left everyone stunned. This wasn't the polished, behind-the-scenes family moment the public is used to imagining. This was a mother, eyes burning with anger and heart heavy with concern, shouting in defense of her daughter, calling out Iman, Teyana's husband and longtime partner, as a source of pain, frustration, and perhaps even the crumbling foundation beneath what once seemed like a fairy-tale romance. The video spread like wildfire across Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, replayed, dissected, and debated, with fans torn between disbelief and recognition, some insisting it was nothing more than a mother venting in the heat of the moment, while others swore they were witnessing the truth finally crack open. "Fame has ruined my baby," she declared with a trembling voice that carried both rage and sorrow, a declaration that struck at the very core of what people had admired about Teyana for years: her strength, her independence, her balance of artistry, motherhood, and selfhood. But suddenly, through her mother's words, the image of unshakable confidence was replaced by something more fragile, something more human. Fans who had always idolized the couple as #relationship goals were rattled, because if Teyana and Iman, who seemed to have it all, from love to family to thriving careers, could fracture under the weight of fame, then what did that mean about the pressures of celebrity life in general? To really understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to rewind through the years of their relationship, the curated social media posts full of laughter, kisses, and family dance-offs in the kitchen, the interviews where they praised each other, the brand partnerships that painted them as a modern power couple. But like many stories built under the spotlight, what gleamed in public masked cracks that were widening behind closed doors. Teyana, fiery and independent, always prided herself on freedom, freedom for herself, freedom for her art, and freedom for her daughter to grow in a world not stifled by judgment. She encouraged creativity, authenticity, and openness, believing her child should grow in love, not fear. Iman, though equally devoted, carried a different vision. He was protective, cautious, shaped by his own fears of the dangers lurking in fame's shadow, and his instinct was to guard, to set boundaries, to enforce rules. These differences in parenting and lifestyle were not new. Insiders whispered that they had been building for months, maybe even years. But the pair did their best to maintain a united front, to give fans the fairytale they wanted to believe in. Yet as Teyana's career soared higher, with greater opportunities, greater exposure, and greater scrutiny, the balancing act between wife, mother, and superstar became nearly impossible, and while her smile remained dazzling on camera, those closest to her saw the toll, the sleepless nights, the endless demands, the unspoken compromises. And then there was her mother, the matriarch who had been with her since day one, who had walked with her through the grind of auditions, rehearsals, and the battles to earn respect in a fickle industry. Her mother had always been fiercely protective, quick to shield her daughter from harm, but this time the danger didn't come from critics or industry politics. It came from within the very relationship the world had celebrated. From her perspective, Iman's constant involvement in decisions, his protective instinct, had shifted into something suffocating, something that eroded Teyana's autonomy and left her struggling to breathe. To her mother, this wasn't just about a daughter being tired, it was about a daughter being silenced, broken under the weight of someone else's control, and the crushing demands of fame she hadn't entirely chosen. Meanwhile, Iman's family saw things differently. They rose to his defense, arguing that his protectiveness was not control, but responsibility, the natural instincts of a man determined to shield his family from a world that devours people whole. They insisted his intentions were good, that his watchful eye was an act of love, that his involvement in Teyana's life and career was about partnership, not dominance. To them, the outburst from Teyana's mother was unfair, an emotional misrepresentation of a man doing his best in impossible circumstances. And so, when the video of the outburst went viral, the world was suddenly caught in the crossfire of two families with two very different narratives, one crying out against control, the other defending love disguised as protection, and in the middle stood Teyana and Iman, trapped in a whirlwind neither could stop. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended. Opinions poured in. Fans picked sides with passion, some calling Teyana's mom brave for speaking out, a mother unafraid to protect her child no matter how messy it looked, others condemning her for airing private family pain in public, warning that it would only make things worse. The divide deepened, the noise grew louder, and what had begun as a private struggle became a public spectacle, dissected and reinterpreted until it no longer belonged to them at all but to everyone with a phone and an opinion. For many, the most heartbreaking part was realizing that this wasn't just drama. It was a mirror reflecting the hidden cost of fame, the way it corrodes the boundaries between personal and public, the way it magnifies every disagreement until it feels insurmountable. And then came Teyana's own voice, not in a dramatic press conference, but in a simple Instagram post, quiet but powerful. "I love my mom, but this has been hard for me," she wrote, her words raw and unpolished, an acknowledgement that beneath the glitz and the gossip, she was struggling. "I've tried to do everything right, but sometimes I wonder if I'm losing myself in all of this." It was the first crack in her carefully guarded wall, the first time she admitted the toll fame and love and expectation had taken, and it changed everything. Suddenly, her mother's outburst was no longer just an embarrassing rant, it was evidence of a deeper truth, the emotional burden Teyana had been carrying in silence. Fans read those words and felt both sorrow and solidarity, realizing that behind the magazine covers and flawless performances stood a woman grappling with identity, autonomy, and exhaustion. And so the question shifted, could Teyana and Iman rebuild from this? Or had the damage become irreversible? Could they find a way to reconcile their different visions of love, parenting, and protection? Or would this public unraveling mark the end of an era for the couple who once seemed unshakable? No one knew for sure, but what was clear was that the story was far from over. The cliffhanger wasn't just about their marriage, it was about Teyana's very sense of self, about whether she could reclaim her voice in the midst of chaos, about whether she would allow fame, family, and pressure to define her or whether she would rise above it all and redefine herself on her own terms. Fans waited, watching closely, knowing the next twist could come at any moment, because in a world where silence speaks louder than words and one Instagram post can change everything, this was not just a story about love, it was a story about survival, about freedom, about the human cost of living under the world's relentless gaze.